Welcome, everyone. My name is John Paul Jones. I'm the Dean of the College of Social and Behavioral Sciences, and we are going to have a heavenly night tonight. This is the third annual of our Downtown Lecture Series, and this year marks a slight change. This year is the first in which you can drink wine in the Fox before sitting down and hearing the lecture. And we did that in honor of the fact that our speaker tonight, Ed Wright, is going to be talking about happiness and immortality. And some people think that you have to drink wine to get to heaven and live forever. Others just feel that wine makes you feel immortal. What do I believe? I believe I won't be drinking red tonight. I have a few people to thank. First, our title sponsors, the Arizona Daily Star. Thank you, Bobby Joe Buell and Mark Henshin. University of Arizona Student Affairs and Enrollment Management, Senior Vice President Melissa Vito. The Magellan Circle Scholars and all the donors who support them. Over 100 people, many in this room, who have dedicated money in support of activities like this, which keep our work here at the Downtown Lecture Series free and also help support students at the same time. Our lecture sponsors, the Arizona Public Media, and I want to thank General Manager and Director Jack Gibson and producer John Booth, and they are also helping live stream our event to some unknown number of people who are not able to make it to this beautiful theater tonight, who might be watching from home or from the Copper Room of the Hotel Congress or Provident Playground Bar and Lounge, or at the Core, which is the Tucson Medical Center's Health and Wellness Center at La Encantada. And Tucson Medical Center is another one of our title sponsors. And they've been with us from the very beginning, and I want to thank Mary Atkinson and Julia Strange for all their support of this lecture series. We're also being live streamed to Arizona Humanities in Phoenix. I understand that there are a number of staff who are up in the offices of the Arizona Humanities watching tonight's event. We have a number of supporting sponsors. I'd like to thank Michael Keith of Downtown Tucson Partnership. Craig Sundberg of this fabulous Fox Theater, who asked me to let all of you know that the box office will be open for all the other activities that are going on in October and throughout the fall, and please stop by and get tickets on your way out. And finally, the Pima Council on Aging. I'd like to thank Mark Clark for his support. Please join the Pima Council on Aging and put an end to this horrible problem. You can see here a number of our community sponsors, many in the audience tonight. Tiana Ronstadt, Women Power Investing, Janos Wilder, Maynard's Downtown Kitchen and Cocktails, my good friends Richard and Shana Oseron, Maynard's Market and Kitchen, Patricia Roskob of Roskob Camborian, and Carol Clark of Casa de la Luz. Thank you all for your support. Our speaker tonight is Ed Wright, who's the director of the Arizona Center for Judaic Studies, and he also holds the J. Edward Wright Endowed Professorship in Judaic Studies. And when you get an endowed professorship, it's quite an honor. They're not all over the university. There are some people who have them, but it's a rare event. And when you hold one, in your own name. It's an even rarer event. I'm actually not sure if there are any endowed professors in their own name at the University of Arizona. Endowed professorships of whatever ilk requires that the faculty member who holds the chair, well, they have a special responsibility to uphold the academic and ethical standards of the person for whom the chair is named. So in this very special case, that means that Ed has to behave himself. Ed Wright's a good friend. He received his PhD at Brandeis University. He also studied graduate school at Harvard Divinity School and Hebrew University of Jerusalem. He was the president and led the Albright Institute of Archaeological Research in Jerusalem, and he's been a visiting professor at Duke University, Dartmouth College, and Hebrew University of Jerusalem. He's an award-winning teacher and researcher in the area of early Judaism and the Bible. His work has covered ancient Israel, it's the Old and New Testaments, Jewish literature, classical Aramaic, ancient and modern Hebrew, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the Apocalypse. Tonight he's going to talk to you about the history of heaven, a topic that he's been working on for 20 years, including an award-winning book by Oxford University Press published in 2000 called The Early History of Heaven. If you go through Ed's CV, you'll see hundreds of articles, book chapters, books, and presentations, and if you count up the number of times that you see the word heaven, it appears 55 times. And yet, the word hell only appears twice. So we're going to be on the positive side of things tonight. Please join me in welcoming J. Edward Wright.
Thanks, JP. Thank you. You're more than generous, JP. Thank you. It's my great pleasure to be here. As JP mentioned, this is a topic that's close to my heart for a long time. And I'm thankful that you're all here. I'm honored by your presence. I really am truly humbled by your presence, and I'm humbled by the opportunity to be part of this series that I've been able to watch from the seats. I'm impressed that so many people come out for immortality. How many people are hoping for immortality? Very good. And we didn't even charge for this. Boy, we're offering immortality. We didn't charge. How many people are going to die? Okay, yeah, most of you apparently. I'm assuming that those of you who didn't raise your hands, one, are uncomfortable raising your hands in public, or two, this lecture begins with some really bad news. There's a chapter before immortality. How many people are ready to go to heaven now? Yeah, a few, yeah. Don't let them drive home. Okay, drive yourself home. Immortality. Really, the quest for immortality, I think, stems from the earliest part of our history as Homo sapiens. The great thing about this lecture series is you're going to hear people from a wide variety of different perspectives and disciplines. And we actually get together and talk about our presentations, rehearse them a bit. And I have to tell you how thoroughly impressed I am with the things that are coming up. You're going to want to be here. It starts with prehistoric stuff. I will mention some prehistoric things. And then we'll build through some ancient things, some medieval things, some modern things, and postmodern and future things. And I think immortality plays, for all of human civilizations, a role. This quest to transcend death. Many of us here. I know I have friends in this room who in recent months have lost loved ones, family members, friends. And it's hard. It's terribly hard. I'll be honest with you, 2 weeks ago, one of my students' father passed away. And obviously let me know, and I'm brokenhearted. Young man whose father was quite young. It's not right. We don't like death. So we imagine something beyond. And I think our imagination says not that much about what is beyond, but about ourselves. And that's what we want to explore tonight. I'm very fortunate. I get to do something I've never done before. I get to offer this lecture. It's my honor to offer it in memory of my friend Bert Falbaum. Many of you knew Bert. I did. I didn't know him long enough. And I would imagine everybody who knows him would say the same, that you didn't know him long enough. He was a great human being. He was a great American. And it's my honor to offer this lecture in honor of him and in support of my dear friend Peggy Judge Houghton. Peggy, I love you very much. We all miss Bert very much. And it's my honor to give this lecture in honor of him. I think he would like it. There's some fun stuff in here. So let's start. The Judaic Studies, guys, starts with Woody Allen. You're so surprised, I know. Right? I don't want to live on in the hearts of my countrymen. I want to live on in my apartment. He has a way of cutting through things. That's, we all want to live on. We don't want to miss others. And I want to talk about immortality in grand sweep. JP mentioned I had a book on the early history of heaven, and frankly, I never taught a course on it. And don't know why. I was busy doing other things. And I got a call one day from a colleague at Dartmouth College and said, we'd like you to come and teach a course on your book. And I said, oh, that's a great idea. Not all professors are smart. Okay? So what I did was put together a course, and then I realized I want to go farther. So I then spent the next 10 years going farther and having fun with it. And then this is the benefit of that tonight. So I'd like to start with prehistoric stuff. What do you see here? Bones. Thank you very much. Bones. Right? This is a burial. There's actually 2 people there. This is a prehistoric burial in Israel, 13,000 to 11,000 BCE. It's near Haifa, the town of Haifa, up in the caves. And what do we see? 2 people buried next to one another. An artistic representation. Here are these 2 people. And what do you see? You see 2 people interred on a bed of flowers, up to 13,000 BCE. BCE I use for before the Common Era. That's a religiously neutral way of doing time. Before 13,000. Here are intentional burials. Somebody did this. Obviously, they didn't do that themselves. Right? Somebody put them there. And what they did was they prepared a bottom with mud plaster, put flowers down, and then purposefully laid the bodies on top of it. This is somebody showing esteem for these people. They regret their passing. Can I tell you what their afterlife beliefs are? No, not yet. But what we do know is there's something. These people think it's important to care carefully for the dead. Next week, Dr. Steiner will be here, and she will talk more about these kinds of burials and others. Our earliest human efforts at trying to grasp immortality. Here's another one. More bones, I know. What do you see? More than 2 people. The eternal spoon. 2 people placed in this position, male and female, and what are they doing? Spooning for eternity. It's a lovely thing. They obviously didn't do it. Somebody put them there. And again, showing esteem for the dead. We're hoping they got along in life because they're together for eternity. But it shows the care for the dead. Let's talk about the Egyptians. Love the Egyptians. Egyptian stuff, we go back as far as 3000 BCE with some of these things. Here you have an image of the Egyptian view of the universe. The goddess Nut stretches out above as sky. The god Geb lying supine down at the bottom. That's the earth god. And then Shu, the sky god, holding up the heavens. Some of the fellows in my heaven class like this slide. The image is, these are the gods of the universe. And beyond the universe, what do you see? Stars. You see stars. The idea in the earliest texts we have from the pyramids are that the pharaoh would go to be part of the sky. But only the pharaoh. It wasn't for us. Only the pharaoh would go to join the sky. He had a heavenly afterlife because as pharaoh he was also God. Not for us. These pyramids are the equivalent of a spiritual Cape Canaveral. This launches the pharaoh into the afterlife. Some of those, they have channels in the side that point to astral features. So we have a form of astral afterlife already with the pharaohs. And we have texts. Inside these things, these texts tell the pharaoh what to do when he awakens, after everything's sealed up. Somehow he awakens and he can read and have the clues to safely navigate and become part of the celestial universe. The pharaoh, but not us. Who did these things? We did. People like us. People trained in these things. Many of these things would have been sketched on the walls by scribes who knew what they were doing, and then artists would come in and fill it in. They didn't necessarily know the hieroglyphs and how to do them, but they could fill them in. And I asked the question, what were they thinking? Why not me? I've spent my life, I've spent decades building this thing, and what do I get? Maybe we can democratize this thing. A little bit later, the next millennium, in the second millennium, we have coffin texts. Pyramid texts first, coffin texts next. These coffin texts are written on the inside of coffins for pharaohs and elites. See where I'm going? Now we have elite members of the royal family type people who are here and able to have the secrets of how to navigate the afterlife. And here you see them numerous coffins that fit one inside the other. You see here with that you're used to seeing this faceplate for King Tut, right? That you're used to seeing that faceplate. So you see the thing. Each one has text on them to help the pharaoh know what to do in the afterlife. That's the inside of the tomb of Seti I. I know, it looks like a bit much. If any of you have a home like this, don't invite me over. Right? Or actually do, I'd love to read what's there. What happens? All those things there, that's just not garish decorations. Those are keys, secrets, and stories on how to navigate the afterlife. So when the pharaoh or the elite person comes up, he knows what to do. If you look at the top, you'll see a form of the goddess Nut. It's not fully evident there, but you see all the people around. All the effort that went into this for elites. And we're still wondering, what about us? These coffin texts, here you see the text inside the coffin. And their passage, their passwords. You navigate the afterlife, you'll have to go through some tests. And at each point, there's a god or some beast there that unless you know the right password, you're destroyed. And you won't make it to the afterlife. So you have to know the secrets. It's kind of like joining a fraternity. Inside King Tut's tomb. Now, what you see there, first of all, you think, this guy, there has to be a purpose for this, or he was the first hoarder. Just too much stuff. And this is after some of it was cleaned out, after Carter cleaned some of the stuff out, a fellow who excavated the tomb. But what does it show you? It shows you people put things in these things that they thought the dead would need. And we're going to see that over and over again. And what I want to tell you is much of heaven's ideas are projections, analogical projections, projecting an analogy of our life on earth in whatever is in the next world. Because we know our world. And I'm going to show you all the way through the modern time, people projecting their world on the afterlife. Some of you will remember Tammy Faye Baker. Apparently you don't remember her honorably by the laugh. She wanted to have golden toilets. Why you would want toilets in heaven, I have no idea. But she wanted gold ones. Maybe she saw King Tut stuff. Finally, in the first millennium, and these are general kind of guidelines. In the first millennium, we finally see the Book of the Dead. You're familiar with the Book of the Dead. You could buy it at Barnes & Nobles. It's available. Not in this form, but in a book form. This now becomes a portable, a cost-effective tool for the afterlife that we could afford. And you wouldn't have the entire Book of the Dead. Mostly you want chapter 125, which deals with the secrets of how to negotiate. But what happens? Because it's a big text. All of these texts are not easy reading. But if you're like me and you really don't have anything else to do with your life, you read them. As I say, it's not much of a life, but it's the only one I have. So these texts are revealing because it tells you the secrets. But notice, these are on papyrus. You can afford this. You can have a snippet of it and bury it with you. Have it buried. You don't bury it. Somebody buries it with you. Or put it inside your coffin. You can afford this. The democratization of heaven. It's now available for others. All those people did that work on those pyramids. No chance. Now it's available for others. These are often illustrated. And here you see Ani. This is from the Book of the Dead of Ani, a version of the Book of Dead involving this person, Ani. Here he is having his soul weighed against a feather. And Anubis is there, this god of embalmment and death, and he's weighing it and seeing, is he a just man? A moral component is introduced. What was it before? Your status. What is it becoming? Your character. Fascinating. Here's a lovely scene from the same papyrus. Ani and his wife, Tutu. If you notice, they're standing in water. See how they depict the water? They're standing in water, the Nile, a otherworldly or netherworldly Nile. They're projecting, analogically projecting their life on earth to the afterlife. And it's touching. Here they are, collecting reeds or flowers or whatever along the Nile, doing the kind of stuff they would do in life together. And they imagine that they would do it in the afterlife. Other images involve the spirit actually leaving the body. Here you have a bird called the Ba bird. I have risen up like the divine hawk, and Horus has made for me a spiritual body through his own soul. May I journey to the uttermost parts of heaven. I am a spiritual body and possess my soul. I have risen up like the divine hawk, and Horus has made for me a spiritual body through his own soul. This person is imagining that you leave your body in some kind of spirit form, the kind of thing that we can understand. And it goes off. Why a bird? Because they fly up to heaven. They get to do things we don't get to do. Let's move over to Mesopotamia during better days. Gilgamesh. You've maybe heard of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh was an ancient sage, and he went on a quest for immortality. And in the story of Gilgamesh, the epic of Gilgamesh, we read, Gilgamesh, where are you headed? You will not find the immortality you seek. In other words, it's not available. Everybody dies, even in Tucson. When the gods created humanity, they appointed death for humanity, but they kept life in their own hands. It's kept away from us. The gods keep it away from us. Only they are immortal. The great gods established life and death. Death they fixed to have no end, and you can't escape. But where is this death? Another myth, a very popular myth, the descent of Ishtar. To the land of no return, Ishtar, the goddess, set her mind. To the dark house, which none who enter it can leave. Dust is their fare, clay their food. I hope you had a better dinner tonight. Or you have better plans. Death for these people was in the netherworld, where it's dark and dusty. And your food? Clay. These people have an afterlife view that whatever you are on earth, that's what you are in the netherworld. It's dark and dusty. Everybody goes. And nobody escapes. You wouldn't call that positive, right? But that's their image. Let's turn over to the biblical materials. The biblical materials are part of an ancient Near Eastern world. And that's what the things I work in. I look at the biblical stuff as part of a broader world. So I can take that biblical stuff and put it into context. And that context sheds lights on really what the Bible is saying. Here you have more bones. Sorry about that. It gets better. There are people with flesh in a little while. Here you have an Iron Age burial. The Iron Age, from roughly 1000 down to 586 BCE. This Iron Age Judean tomb shows a person laid out by his relatives in a cave, in a tomb. And you notice there are couches all around. The tomb looks like a house. Looks like your living room. You're lying on your couch. They lie you there, and it takes a year or two for you to dry up. Then what they do with your bones, they gather them together and stuff you in a hole underneath that bench. And guess who's down there? Generation after generation after generation. It's a macabre picture, to be sure. They're all down there. Your ancestors. In the biblical phrase, gathered to your ancestors, it's exactly what it means. It's exactly what it means. Remember that my life is a breath, says Job. My eye will never see good again. The eye that beholds me will see me no more. While your eyes are upon me, I shall be gone. As the cloud fades and vanishes, so those who descend to Sheol, the underworld, that dark, dusty place where you eat clay. Sheol do not return. They return no more to their homes, nor do their places know their name anymore. Job 7. Now, Kohelet or Ecclesiastes. Humans set out for their eternal home. Mourners surround them. The dust returns to the earth, just as it was. And the spirit returns to God who gave it. He added something. Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, a little bit later, 5th century. I'm going to guess around 400, as I would date it. Added something. What did he add? Spirit. The other one said, you go down into the netherworld, that's it. You're dead. He added something. And what we're seeing now is the beginning of the transformation of what will become Jewish ideas and eventually Christian ideas. And eventually from that, Islamic ideas. One late biblical text is the key. The book of Daniel, chapter 12. Many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. Those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the sky, and those who lead many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. Astral Afterlife. This text, 2 centuries later, mid-2nd century BCE. All of a sudden, another transformation. And this is certain. Now what are they expecting? That we haven't seen yet. Resurrection from the dead. And now the question becomes, if you raise somebody from the dead, how does that relate to the soul? The soul? Does the soul go up? Does the body go up? And there is a dispute in early Jewish texts, in early Christian texts, of what happens after death. Does the soul reunite with the body? It seems kind of weird because I saw their bones in the cave. Let's go over to the Greeks, and the Greeks will give us the answer. In this regard, you need to come out to the lecture, Professor Kamtar's lecture on Greco-Roman images of afterlife, and Plato specifically. Here you have a field, Greco-Roman images. In the earliest texts, the idea was that in Homeric texts, so let's say from 1200 down to about 700 BCE, these texts imagine in many ways like that ancient Near Eastern text that you just die and go into the netherworld. Completely understandable. But starting in the 4th century, with changes in Greek ideas about the soul, changes about the fate of the afterlife begin to change too, and that will have a transformative impact on Jewish texts, eventually Christian and Muslim. Menelaus, to the Elysian plain and the ends of the earth will the immortals convey you, where life is easiest for men. And you know Menelaus, you know his wife too, Helen. The Trojan Wars, he was injured. And this is the statement that Achilles makes to him, saying, oh, you're in danger, but this will happen to you, for you're a righteous man, or you're a great man. Plato in the 4th century begins a change. The idea now is, Plato and Aristotle, and they're going back and forth. And as you'll see in some of my work, is I try to wed changes in science with changes in religion. Because how you view the cosmos in astronomy will affect, in part, how you view what happens to the soul after life. So Plato, the myth of Here's a fellow, he dies, dead 12 days, comes back to life. So be careful, don't bury somebody too soon. 12 days later, this guy comes back to life, and he's just fine. And he tells what happens. And now we have a text story of someone who's been on the other side. Now we're getting somewhere, right? Now we know someone who's actually been on the other side, where he has transcended death and tells you what happens. Oh, these people are being punished, and these are terrible things happening. And we as moderns think, yeah, right. We don't do that stuff anymore. Hang on for about 15 minutes. We still do that. This otherworldly journey is the beginning of that idea in Judaism and in Christianity. I can tell you, in Jewish texts, the things that JP mentioned that I specialize in, people such as Adam, Abraham, Isaiah, Baruch, it goes on, had journeys to heaven and hell and come back and tell people. Now, they never really did, but these are stories that were written afterwards and attributed to them. But it goes on this story of the afterworld journey. If a person has done that, let's say, and I've always wanted to do this, frankly, to write a book about my experience in going to another world, I would use a pen name. It protects the college and the university. It protects the university, right? I have tenure, but I still have to watch out. But what happens? I could do it. I mean, I know the stuff, right? And I could write this story about going to the other world, and I could stand in front of you and say, you know, I was there, and this is what happens. Bing, bing, bing. And that's what happens. So unless you do such and such, then you're going to hell. I could be convincing to some. I could get their checkbooks out. I might do that here. What happens? That becomes a powerful thing. These are in text. Today, where does that occur? YouTube, whoever said it. You're exactly right. It's on YouTube. And I spend way too much time there. I know these people, probably too intimately. Let's talk about the Apostle Paul. Let's go to the Christian stuff. The Apostle Paul, he has a view that souls go off to heaven. 1 Thessalonians 4, for the Lord will descend from heaven, and the dead in Christ will rise first. Resurrection, right? Physical resurrection. Then we who are alive will be caught up with them in the clouds together with them to meet the Lord in the air. And we will be with the Lord forever. The Christian hope. And he says, encourage one another with these words. Encourage indeed. If you're a Christian being persecuted and you're seeing other Christians die and die under persecution, does that encourage you? You transcend death. Because whatever happens, in the end, we get to go to be with Jesus in the sky. Philippians 3:30. This is classic. Our citizenship is in heaven, and from there we are expecting a Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ. An explicit statement that for these early Christians, whatever we experience on earth is no big deal. What's important is our place in the afterlife, in heaven. And that gives you hope amidst persecution. And they were persecuted. This one I love. Paul went to heaven. That's why I'm going to try it. He wrote an account, and he says, I know a man, he's talking about himself. I know a man who 3 years ago was caught up and was seized up and went to the third heaven. And why he went to the third when there's 7, I have no idea. Maybe he wasn't that good. What happens? He's there, and what happens? He hears things he can't tell. That's really good. Because you don't tell everybody, you just tell the people who write the checks. You tell the people, the secret group, and they feel special. It's terrific. I could start my own. And finally, the book of Revelation, New Testament. Completely different image. Completely different image. Written by a fellow named John. I don't think it's the guy from the gospel at all, and I don't think John wrote the book of John, the gospel anyway, because it's an anonymous text. It's an anonymous text. You don't know who wrote it. And this text is John, could be any John. John Schmann, doesn't matter. This guy has a different image altogether from Paul. His image is that heaven or the afterlife will take place in a Jerusalem that descends from heaven, lands on earth, and the righteous go in. It's an urban heaven. That's not funny. Although maybe it's better. It's not as good as a paradise of gardens. It's Tucson, right? It's paradise. It's being in the Fox Theater, right? So what happens? This image is we're going to this special place, Jerusalem, that holds a special place even in these Christian hearts. That's God's place, and the temple is central. And there's no need for a sun. Why? God's brightness lightens the whole thing. It's a great place. But only certain people get in. It's a gated community. The fact that it has gates always bothered me. Who are they trying to keep out? Right? Well, they're trying to keep out, and then here's what we begin. When we get into these now later ideas, religious groups will say, these are the conditions you have to meet. And I love these guys, right? Because whatever conditions they tell you, tells you about themselves. Their biases, and if I might add, bigotry, right? It's very interesting. Quranic heaven. I know you're waiting for the 70 virgins. That you can wait, okay? That's later. Quranic stuff. And the reason why I put this in here is to correct that misunderstanding of what Islamic beliefs are. Quranic stuff is much like any kind of traditional Judeo-Christian type of ideas. God has promised men and women, those who are blessed will be in paradise, where they will dwell so long as heaven and earth survive. You could take that. If I didn't tell you where it was from, you'd think it was from the Bible, Jewish or Christian. God has promised men and women who believe gardens with streams of running water, where they will abide forever, and beautiful mansions in the Garden of Eden. Again, you wouldn't know. This is standard Islamic teaching. We will come up with some of the crazies today that what they use much later. Whoever works righteousness, man or woman, and has faith, to them Allah will give a new, good, and pure life and bestow on them their reward. Very standard afterlife stuff. We will see others corrupt this later. Like Paul, like others in Jewish texts, Muhammad himself ascended to heaven. If you go to Jerusalem and you go to the Al-Aqsa complex, up on top is the Dome of the Rock. It's not a mosque. It's a place commemorating Muhammad's ascent into heaven. He made a night journey to Jerusalem and from there ascended into heaven. Here you see an image. Again, against the idea you don't make images. There's a long history of images, and they're fascinating, right? This happens to be a 7th century text about Muhammad. This is another one. Here we have Muhammad ascending into heaven, and he's accompanied by the angel Gabriel on the left. The angel Gabriel accompanying him in his ascent into heaven. If you really want to make a splash, you got to go to heaven. So I'm going to work on that. And then there's some charming ladies down below. We'll come to those. Jewish stuff. I'm going to have to tell you, in Jewish stuff, there is, like I said before, lots of ascents to heaven. But it's interesting. The rabbis themselves are somewhat ambivalent about this. This text from a 3rd century text, the Mishnah, says, whoever contemplates 4 things, it would have been better for him if he had not been born. That which is above, that which is beneath, that which was before time, and that which will be hereafter. In other words, they're going against this tradition about people talking about going to heaven. Why? If I come in here and I tell you, you know, I've been to heaven. It's a nice place. And I learned this from God directly. I've got some cred you don't have. You may have read it somewhere. I talked to God, and this is what he said. And then what's my next step? Get your checkbook out. Right? Come and join me at my ranch up in somewhere where we all live together doing our things. There's another text. This is a rabbinic text that's in a different tradition. It's called Palaces, the Book of Palaces, Sefer HeHalot. Rabbi Ishmael, a rabbi says, when I ascended to the height to behold the vision of the chariot, I entered 6 palaces, one after the other. And when I reached the door of the 7th palace, the innermost one, I paused in prayer before God. So here's a rabbi who claimed to have been in God's presence. He's got cred. Let's go to the medieval stuff quickly. Dante, as far as I'm concerned, Dante is the high point of Christian speculation on the afterlife. No, laugh. It's true. And I'm an ancient person, right? So what happens? Dante, the Divine Comedy, it's not a comedy in our sense of comedy, but it's a story that ends well. It starts with the Inferno. He goes down into the netherworld, sees people being punished. Oh my, right? And what happens, people being punished? The offending member is always punished. So if you stole something, your hands are punished. If you lusted after something, your eyes are punished. If you listened to gossip, your ears. If you spoke gossip or lies, your tongue. You don't want to know what happens to adulterers. But I have pictures. Not in this version. Yeah, you're disappointed in that, huh? So Dante, but the high point of it, as he ascends, he comes up from the Inferno into purgatory, he starts ascending, and you're still being punished. You can go up and still be punished. You got things to go through. And you're being purified as you go up. Purgation, originally a Jewish idea. Christians got it from Jews. Jews got it from Greeks. Right? It's a long tradition. Finally, the last part, in paradise, in heaven. And he goes there with his beloved Bernice alongside. And he arrives to the highest point beyond our cosmos, and he encounters God. And what does he do? He contemplates God. Is that boring you? That would bore me. I would say there are 2 different kinds of ultimate experience. We've already talked about the communal part with family. This is the contemplative part, right? Where you just engage the divine. You meditate on the divine. It's contemplative. And it's very popular in the Middle Ages in some Christian traditions. Although I have to say the communal one is probably most. Let's go back to the Islamic stuff. Here they are. You were waiting for them. Remember, this was the image of Muhammad ascending into heaven with Gabriel, and at the bottom, these women are huris, perpetual virgins in heaven. Don't ask me to explain the perpetual virgin part. It's just a belief. these heavens. Everyone will have 2 wives from these houris, who will be so pure as to be transparent. The shape of the bones of their legs will be seen through the bones and the flesh. That's charming. They should have a hamburger or something. A houri is a most beautiful young woman with transparent body. The marrow of her bones is visible like the interior lines of a pearl and rubies, having large breasts which are round, pointed, and not inclined to dangle. You were waiting for that, don't kid me. They dwell in palaces of splendor, so you know the whole story, right? So here is later interpretations of this stuff. Shortly we'll see how it's corrupt. You know how it's corrupted today. You know how it's corrupted today. And I'm going to tell you, you'll see shortly, that the Christian community has the same issue in how these afterlife beliefs are used to direct people into some nefarious things. Now today, here we go. Even time. It's so important to us. Belief in heaven. Here you have a Pew Survey. I don't know how it's not 50-50. We're optimists, I guess. Or at least we're hopeful for ourselves. By denomination. You know, you see fairly standard things there, right? That's the kind of stuff you expect based on the other one. And here's another one of total U.S. the population. These are very standard. The thing that strikes me most are the atheists. I'm guessing they misunderstood the question. Gotta love it. I love what I do. And you know, the stuff we do here in SBS is the People College. We look at people in all their diversity, right? These are serious things. These are serious beliefs, and we kind of poke at some of them. But these are things people cherish. And what we do here is we explore these things in all their diversity so we might understand them, so that we might respect differences of opinion, realize that some of these things are faith things that you can't prove and can't disprove. But we do them. Here's a longitudinal study. It doesn't change. There's something in us that keeps that going. And that's what we want to explore. There's a story. My wife Keely is here. We were in Portland, Oregon. We were going down to a festival. To be honest, it was a beer festival. Downtown in Tom McCall Park along the waterfront. We came around a corner, and I went, ooh. She went, no. But I turned to Keely and I said, this is research. This is my work. I was hoping they had hot dogs there, too. They didn't have any hot dogs. So I go there, and I struck up a conversation, and I thought, okay, I'm going to find out. How do I stack up? I failed the first question. They stopped right there. I failed. So what do? I said, well, give me another try. Right? I failed the first time I did my driver's license here in Arizona. They gave me another try. Heaven, they don't. But he had some things for me to say, and then Keely pulled me out of there, and off we went. I had much more fun at the beer garden. Three approaches. No afterlife whatsoever, heaven and a near-death experience, heaven and coercion. No life whatsoever, no afterlife whatsoever. That's it. I'm sorry. That's an easy one to do. But the Bible said this as well. Humans and animals share the same fate. We had this earlier. Ultimately, death comes to both. They all draw the same breath. Humans have no advantage over animals. All life's efforts are futile. Can't get past that. You can't get past it. Heaven and the near-death experience. Near-death experience. Talked to many people. This has been something that's been important to me for, I'd say about the last 7 years. Talked to many people. Read a lot of stuff. going to tell you, a lot of people have had near-death experience, and I cherish their accounts of their stories. People who will claim that they had a near-death experience and traveled to heaven or somewhere else and come back. I personally believe they stayed right where they were. But I cherish their accounts because their accounts tell me a lot about themselves. This fellow, geez, it's kind of scary. Raymond Moody, you may know him. He really got this brought to popular attention back in the 70s. This life after life. And you know all the details, right? The dying, the darkness, the tunnel of light leading to a nice, warm, bright experience. The going into a lovely, charming place that's very receptive and warm and cuddly and just terrific. And then reaching a border. You hear your life story, and then you're told you have to go back. Made it this far. You have to go back. And then people come back. And when they come back from that, and they come up out of this experience, which I regard as a neurochemical experience influenced by psychology and sociology and the life experience of that individual, I don't think anybody goes off to heaven, my personal experience, or my personal opinion. But what can I not do? I cannot tell you what heaven is like. I can't tell you that you're right or you're wrong. I can say, I trust your views, but you know what? I can't prove that they're wrong. Can't prove that they're right, but I can value them. There's an International Association for Near-Death Studies. They have a journal. Sat down one time, read through the whole entire thing. Fascinating stuff. Their definition, a near-death experience is a profound event that may occur to a person close to death or who is not near death but in a situation of emotional crisis. And we have accounts of that, right? Here we have two young men. The one on the left, Colton Burpo, wrote a book, had a TV movie, and several books. The family has done well. Here's his story.
And that's where I got to see heaven. No, Jesus and some angels came and flew me up to heaven.
And I said, so Colton, what did Jesus look like?
I knew that the first person I saw was Jesus. He was wearing white robes with a purple sash, and he just came down nicely and gracefully.
Well, Dad, Jesus has markers. Dad, Jesus has markers. I didn't know what he meant. So I finally asked the right question. Colton, where are Jesus' markers? And he drops his toys down, and he stands up, and he just points, Dad, they were right here. He takes his fingers, points to the palms, then he bends over and touches the tops of his feet and looks up to me. That's where Jesus' markers were, Dad.
When I was in the throne room of God to start with, so I got to see what that looked like. I was upset because I didn't know what was happening. What God did is he used people or things that I liked to calm me down.
Today, Colton is a healthy 11-year-old and shares his heavenly journey with boldness.
I learned that heaven is for real, and you're going to like it.
And you're going to like it. You have to admire this young man. He's a very fine young man. He's now late teens. I think he had a very traumatic experience. He had a physical illness that caused this experience while he was in a hospital. Did he go off to heaven? And this is my personal opinion. No. He had a neurochemical experience that caused this. And God bless him and his family for what they do. They've been blessed in many ways. They've made millions off of this. The movie rights, the books, and more books coming. And, that's kind of why the ancient people were writing those things too. This fellow, Alex Malarkey, and I kid you not, that's his name. He was in a terrible accident and recounted his story of a near-death experience that he recounts as a trip to heaven. And I teach this every year or two. I made a statement. Some of these guys are going to come out and recant. That happened last spring with him. Now, his story breaks my heart, what happened to him. But I have to admire him for coming forth and saying what I said before was made up. And you have to admire someone like that. And he's in a difficult physical situation. Ministers have gone to heaven, as surprising as that seems. We have Don Piper here on the left and Richard Sigmund on the right. Don Piper, a very fine minister. And he went to heaven after a car accident for 90 minutes. It was very interesting. Colton Burpo, the fellow in the video, was asked, well, what about that minister who was there in heaven, and he says things different from what you said? He was only there for 90 minutes. He didn't get the full show. Competitive historiography, that's what that's called. So he had this tremendous experience. Mr. Sigmund, Reverend Sigmund, he was dead for 8 hours and came back. The book came out 20 years later, 25 some years later, just when this stuff was becoming popular. I wonder if that's a coincidence. He also raised 24 people from the dead. So he way outdid Jesus. You know, when you get to that, you know you're dealing with charlatans. I'll just be honest. Physicians, Eben Alexander on the left, Mary Neal on the right, who had terrible experiences and recount stories in several books about their experience going to heaven. Again, this fellow is a neurologist. He knows this stuff, and he claims nonetheless that this is what happened to him. This person, there are large critiques about him. You can look those up very easily on the web. Mary Neal, very charming woman who, as a physician, also knows this. And she recounts dying and going to heaven. 3 approaches to the afterlife today. Heaven and coercion. This one you know. Tragic. Absolutely tragic. This person, David Koresh, told people that the book of Revelation said if you join his group, he's leading you into heaven, into the afterlife. And he focused on that stuff in the book of Revelation that we saw earlier. And we know what happened to them. Heaven's Gate, you remember them? Another unfortunate situation where they thought the transport to heaven was coming in the tail of the Hale-Bopp comet. Roughly 40 people committed suicide, thinking that when they did that, they would be able to get on this transport to get to what they called the level beyond human. Tragic. So we have it in Christianity. This fellow, very interesting man who was going down the way of an extremist, and he recounts that, Dr. Hamid recounts, I increasingly felt at ease with death because I believed that I would either defeat the infidels on earth or enjoy paradise in the afterlife. Now he changed. He switched, and he realized that was misdirected. What you hear on TV as a corruption of Islam, right? When we hear these things. This fellow actually followed through with it in Gaza. And he said, God promised us either victory or martyrdom. And he led people into martyrdom, including his family. He sent his son to suicide bomber, and he went in, killed 2 Israelis as he blew himself up, and he died as well. Terrible stuff. Now, what about tomorrow? You knew I would come back to this. I don't want to achieve immortality through my work. I want to achieve immortality by not dying. It's possible. Is it possible not to die? Ray Kurzweil in The Singularity. I don't know if you've followed this stuff. Very fascinating things. And I'm going to tell you that we have resources at this university that deal with afterlife things. I think of Al Kazniak in the psychology department, Gary Schwartz in the psychology department. We have people across this university who are doing things related to afterlife and immortality type things that are important. We could have our own institute for this stuff with the people we have on hand, just doing the things they're doing. It's when I one time just was going through departments looking at what people were doing. It's fascinating. Ray Kurzweil, product development or the genius type at Google. Immortality is within our grasp. And what he means by immortality is completely different from what we're used to. What he means? The combining of human with machine. A technological immortality. What he wants to do is have And, we have people here. We're already partly down that road. There are people here with joints, artificial joints, that will go on theoretically forever. Other body parts, we're not going to show and tell here, right? And the other body parts replaced. The next thing, can we preserve our brains? There's, up in Scottsdale, an institute trying to do that. They have, as a Red Sox fan, they have Ted Williams' head up there. By mid-century, he hopes that we'll achieve this. He wants to put nanobots in your blood, and he'll monitor what you're doing and how you're doing and what's failing. Now we have artificial hearts. Stem cell research, we could generate hearts. Can we live forever? And would we want to? What would it be like? Would it be iRobot? Kind of dangerous. There's a threat. Is this heaven or hell? Will we intervene? I think, when I think of heaven, I think of this. Somehow I'm going to get a copy of this for my office. This is a great thing. Carmen Garza from Los Angeles. It's called Heaven and Hell. I want to focus on the top part. Obviously. Heaven. Are we going to do a hell? No. Okay. That wouldn't be so much fun. Here is an image of communal afterlife. It's a lovely image. People celebrating fiesta. People enjoying one another's company. There's dancing, there's music, there's food, there's great colors. This is communal afterlife. This is the kind of image that we all aspire to. And I'm going to tell you now how you can have immortality. Are you ready? You ready for immortality? Oh, you were all generous. I put you to sleep. Get your checkbooks out. Oh, like you're surprised I was going to go there, right? Yeah, right. First of all, you're going to have immortality because when you die and we put you in the ground, you will decompose and you will contribute to the biological aspects of life. I don't think that's what you're all thinking about, but we'll all appreciate it. Becoming one with the universe, it's almost Buddhist, right? Becoming one with the universe, one with the world. But there's something else. The other thing that you can do to obtain immortality is the life you lead. And I'm convinced of it. I've seen it. I've watched people. I know people in this room who I know their story will go on long after they're here. It's how you live your life and how you impact the lives of others. What you give back. I'm so honored. For me, the most important thing to me is to be a good husband to my wife, Keely, a good father to my daughter, Angela, and to do my job here. I get up every day and I'm thankful for what I do. I'll be honest with you. I drive in from Oro Valley and I come down Oracle and I'm looking out and I'm thankful for what I get to do. And I hope somehow I give something back in a small way. Each of you are giving something back in small ways and great ways. That's how you'll be immortal. And so there's your immortality. It's the life you live. One more thing. Bert, my beloved friend. Peggy. Part of the way we give back is through the things we do, through the love we share with one another, the way we make the world a better place. We repair the damage in this world, and we all can do it in our own ways. I'm convinced of it. I try to live my life that way. Well, sometimes when I'm cut off in traffic, it's not that way. But I try. I'm sure we all try. Peggy. Peggy, some of your friends, and Bert's friends, a couple of your friends have gotten together. And Seth, where's Seth? Will you come over? He's working here actually too. Seth, Peggy, this is Seth Pines. You can walk over there. She's back 10 rows on the left. This is Seth Pines. He's not your date. I didn't set you up with a date. This is Seth Pines. Some of your friends have gotten together to honor Bert by creating a Bert Foulbaum Judaic Studies Student Fellow. This is Seth, our fellow. It's our honor to do that. And he's a great young man. And I'm so honored to be able to have him in our presence. He's transformed our work. And ladies and gentlemen, it's been my pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for your patience, and I wish you all immortality.